Okay, everyone, good morning. Just like you to welcome you back to the last one. We're going to have a bit of a review day, but we're also going to have some fun today with what we've learned so far. Now, everybody is in a different spot. Some of you people at home have not even begun to start practicing yet. You've just watched the videos, and that's fine, and you've got them for a nice long time to revisit. But what we're going to do today is sort of go in the big girls' pool without water wings. So, but we're just, as you can see, I've got a bunch of stuff in front of me, and that's what we're going to go through today. Just doing some stuff with each tool. If you don't have the tool, I've got some extras here. So first of all, we'll start with a big blue parallel pen, if you have one. If you don't, come and get one. This is my, if you can look at the screen a second, this is my pointed pen of choice, which is a heritage nib, Veleda. It's made in Mexico. I like it because it's strong and yet it does beautiful hairlines. So if you were doing this Romans with the pointed pen, this is lovely because when you push a pointed pen, the difference is when you push it, look at these tines, they're not going wide open. So if you're a little heavy-handed, as I inclined to be, this nib is good for me. It might not be the best for you. And then our next one is my pen with the diamond tiara around its waist, which was a Christmas gift last year. So that's our scroll nib that we worked on. And today, if you've got something like it, I would like to try doing some Roman just quickly with the very small browser or very small C5 or 6. And I do have a couple of extras for that. And then I'm going to surprise you because I'm going to make you practice the Romans with the big pen. And then we're going to pick up a brush. And believe it or not, you now know how to do brush Romans because it's the same strokes. And you won't believe me until you try it, so we'll do that. Then I've got a little dagger brush, which I really like for filling in artwork with colour that's been drawn with a marker or something. So we'll be making a Christmas card front and with a Romans text across it, but we'll be putting a graphic behind it and filling that in with, I've got watercolour here, I've got metallic watercolour, so if you don't have anything. This is one of my most useful pencils. This is the Charcoal General's pencil, cheap as chips, and very, very useful for working on anything dark because it just brushes away afterwards so easily. So that's what we'll do, Alana. Now this you may not have, but I strongly urge you to think about buying yourself. This is not a Tombow marker, but it's very like it. And I bought a whole box of greys, every range of grey, not 50 shades of grey, but almost, because Carolyn Delaire gave me a very good lesson on relief shadowing, not just around letters, but around the thing that you've drawn, and we'll cover that a little bit. It's not really Romans, but it's fun. And then, because I quite often use a line from A Christmas Carol, I have fun with this pen, which gives you 5 lines. So it's like a music stave. So you can go like that and then write the words of the first line of a carol on it. So that's just a bit of silliness. And this is always useful, a gold gel pen. and our old friend Finetech, which is watercolor metallics. And I buy these now. If you buy them in a tray, they're really expensive, but I buy them individually and stick them in a tin. And you can see I use it all the time, so it's really messy. So with all Finetech, you have to wet it and let it soak before you want to use it. And then and some watercolor. Finetech. You can get them at our newly opened iron oxide store. It'll be opened on the weekend.
Today? I thought she was opening today.
Open today. Oh, we may have to stop there on the way back.
She opened Monday. Oh, I thought on her blog yesterday she said she was opening today. But
Anyway, I'm not sure if she sells them separately. I think she just sells the sets. But I buy them online from the art store in Calgary. What's it called?
Delta Arts? No?
Delta Arts, yeah, where you can buy them individually very cheaply. So, and I just put really strong glue on the back and keep them in a tin. And then metallics are something that's really useful for any kind of calligraphy. And I paid next to nothing for this set online. It's called Paul Rubens, but I think it's made in Korea. So. And then just my regular watercolor palette, which they're tube watercolors that I just squirt in there, and I try to keep them in color order so that you can borrow that. And then the other tool that, when I'm in Caroline's watercolor class and I've made a boo-boo, I sometimes tidy up the edges with a watercolor pencil. Because if you've got a sloppy edge, you can just go over that, even if it's a little bit damp, and just, tidy up things. Or you can paint with them or whatever. Anyway, so I just wanted you to have a bit of fun today.
I'm just going to lock the focus. The focus keeps
So
going.
can we zoom out just a tiny bit?
Lock it first.
I wonder if we could get it straighter. There we go.
And I think you're zoomed right out. Yeah, you're zoomed right out. That's as far as it goes.
Okay.
Got the light there now.
Okay. So I don't want it in my eyes. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Right there.
Yeah, it's just
Okay. So let's do some writing. Let's get, first of all, does everybody have a blue cap?
Yeah.
You,
No blue cap. Found it. Let's see.
it's a bit like writing with a spade, but we're just going to review everything and just see what we can do. Oh, there's one thing I didn't show you. I can't find it now, never mind. Okay, we're just going to go back to basics now with what we started with, which is our basic spinal stroke. Now, behind my paper, I have this one. I don't want you on squares today. I want you on this grid. If you don't have one, come and get one.
It's on the back of one you gave us, isn't it?
I gave everybody one, but people lose things, so if you need one, come and get it. There we are, madame.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
May I keep this one?
Hmm?
May I keep this?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can I borrow one?
You want one?
Yeah, I printed it, but I don't know where it is.
I have now got in my studio a drawer that's got all my templates in it, so that all my lines, because I spend ages going through every drawer looking for the lovely thing that Charlotte put out. I miss her things. They were so good. But she did that lovely thing with all the pen angles. And this is Lorraine's version of it. But it's so useful to have those things just to hand. Did anybody have a try of her alphabet? It's really interesting. The thing to note about it is, it's better to look at this one here. She's taken this is what we're going to do today. She's taken the Romans and then modernized it and made it her own. It's the basic B, but she's gone uphill a bit, which is a bit uncial. But, you know, she's doing the same thing, but she's just making it her own. And so we're going to dare to try that today. Okay, where's my work list so I don't miss anything? Okay, so blue pen, spinal stroke. Do it 4 lines deep. You've got that page behind your paper, have you all? Ready to go? Mm-hmm. So slide in, hairline, down heavy, 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 down to, well, let's go 5 lines. And rocking to the left, we get our tail, and we can just tidy it up if we need to. And draw in the serif at the top, and draw in the serif at the top. Let's do that again and make it, doesn't look very straight on the camera. It must be the camera, it can't possibly be me.
How many lines were we doing down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's not easy with this great big pen.
I think the bigger they get, the easier it gets for me.
But you see, that's the truth of it, is somebody shows you a way and everybody has a different comfort with a different tool. Let me see if I'm comfier bigger. Oh, I've run out of ink. Somebody was pointing out today, I'm just showing you this cartridge here. Somebody was pointing out today, when you put these cartridges in new and you tip it sideways, they are now only half full. Isn't that a rip-off?
Yeah, and my red one's all leaked out again, so it's almost empty. You know that one that leaks.
I always talk about refilling them, and I do sometimes, but I'm mostly using it. I just want to see. You can't really see. This one looks pretty. Oh, yes, look. It's only full to there. Cheapskates. How are you doing with that stroke? Is it beautiful or is it difficult?
You have to use different muscles. You have to start using your shoulder.
Oh, that's better. So go up about 1/3 to do the second stroke, and then just tidy it up. You can be much bigger with your serif on this. But you know, if I was Dennis Brown, I would do that all with 1 pen stroke and not even have to touch it up. So 1, 2, 4, 6. So have a go at the word king this big. 6 lines high.
6?
6. Don't worry if it's not perfect. This is just a practice. Now, what this is going to catch you at is that without your boxes, you've got to remember that this is only 2 letters wide, two boxes wide in the small sense. So this is quite a narrow letter, and I've done it a bit too narrow. I find doing the serifs with this big tool very difficult, but you might like it. Oops, that's too thick. Oops. So I'm going to go down to a 4.5, and we'll just do 5 lines deep this time. It just, whatever sizes you have, we're just playing with using different sizes. Just write the word queen.
Don't forget the camera.
Thank you. So you really are like flying without the squares, which makes it much harder. But it's sort of testing your memory about how much you remember of what we've learned. And we're probably going way too fast. You get much better result if you go slowly, which I'm finding myself. If you prefer, you can take out your templates and use the very dark squares, if that helps you more. But I wanted you to try without, because did we talk about having a cushion underneath? Working on one sheet of paper with the thing underneath on the light board does not give you the best pen results, because you're not getting the soft pushback Japanese calligraphers insist that you have a folded tea towel under your pad so you get even more sort of buoying effect underneath. But I do think that working on a pad is a good thing to do. So so now I've got a pencil there handy. I just want you to do this. Just freehand it, don't worry if it's not perfect. I just want to get you into so I'm going to go down to an orange now. And I'm just going to write the word Jack in here. And I'm eyeballing it so I can see that that is probably dead center. Working backwards, so that would be where the A would be, so I'm going to start about there. Using the line from my serif start, down 2/3 and to the left and stop. What? Down 2/3 and to the stop.
We're working with a smaller nib now?
Pardon?
We're working with a smaller nib now?
We're working with an orange cap if you have it. If you don't, come and borrow one.
I've got it.
So then we need a fairly generous space. So our old friend the diamond is very handy for that. Then with the corner of the pen to the right of you, come down for the diagonal on the J. Drawing the serif. Pick it up halfway down and then to get the nice sharp point at the top. And turn the pen slowly to get the serif sitting on the line. Now you can see that I haven't judged the spacing right here because that looks good, but that one's too big right there. But it's just because we're just roughing it in, so that if I've now got to think that I've got to do that big to try and balance it, but it's not going to look balanced, but the letters are going to look nice. And I find it's so much easier to manipulate the serif with the smaller. But always turn your work so that you're getting it's absolutely perpendicular to the baseline. So these would be your thumbnails that you'd be doing when you're going to do a piece and you're just sort of figuring out where am I going to put stuff. And if you were Chris, you would have measured it and it would all be perfect, but that's not everybody. But you certainly can measure. And hers would be flawless, I'm sure. Now I'd like you to do it again with no bottom line. I told you we're swimming without water wings. I'm getting you into seeing what you can do with your mind. Now I'm going down to the smallest one. As you know, my personal favourite, 4 Romans. I'll keep doing it. I'll do ace this time. Always a heavy crossbar, it's not a light affair. And just beef up the serifs a little bit. So I've stopped here on my crossbar. I'm turning a quarter turn with my pen on the paper. I'm turning a quarter turn and lifting off to get that spade on the end of the stroke, instead of doing the T-bar at the end. It's just a different way of doing it. Now the next one is a little bit of a test. Have you got a small one? Have you got a red cap? Or a small orange or something? This is what I want you to do now. And this is free-handing it. And I'm sorry if you feel uncomfortable and you're not ready to do this, but I just want to show you the theory. We're going to do a word tower now, just going through the alphabet like this. Just, at your own speed. So this is 2, I'm using red cap 2 lines high. I'm free-handing the letter. I'm not using any lines at all. And don't worry if the letters aren't perfect. Just push on. Remember, when you do the serif at the end of a line, you stop, but you don't lift off and you turn. You slow right down, go into slow motion as you do it. I think doing word towers like this in any hand that you're working on is a great little workout to do when you're just doodling at home, and doodling is your best friend. And you're getting wider as you're going down in terms of letters. Not the letter, but the tower. This is where your straights stop being straight, because you get a bit wonky with this. So it's your eye judgment that you're using. I was just watching Herman Zapp. There's a wonderful video on YouTube. It's about 50 years old, of Herman Zapp freehanding an alphabet that's camera ready when he's finished, doing exactly this. And he knows exactly where to fit letters in, and I don't know how he does it. But if you get the chance to watch a master, he's it. Am I going too fast?
A little bit. I'm quite a ways behind you.
That's fine. Just go at your own speed. The question you have to ask yourself is, have I got the letter forms right, and am I drifting back to my own form of writing? This is where your strong knowledge of the Romans form, you've got to keep it in the front of your head. So you're still looking maybe at an exemplar, just so that you're not drifting off. But this is also free, so you can kind of please yourself. But if you want it to look like Romans, and we're still with the small serifs. And in a minute we're going to go and do big serifs, or wiggly serifs, and you're going to love it when you see it. So this will take you a while, like many hours of practice, to get to where you think it's good enough to use. But this is what builds an accomplished hand, is just doodling around with exercises like this. Right, I'm coming around to see how you're doing. So you can see, for people at home, you can see that when you have so many things to think about, to get it balanced, so mine is kind of hanging a bit to the left. It's not hanging equally. I didn't space it properly, so I'm sort of going in a curve. So what I should have maybe done is draw a pencil line down from the point of the initial A down to the bottom to get centered, and then I would have done a better job of doing it. Now, what's a really nice Christmas card idea is to do the word tower in the shape of Christmas tree, so get more letters on the subsequent rows, and then do some red dots in it, and that can be a very nice calligraphy with a star on the top, calligraphic card. of sorts. So what I'd like you to just look up for a second at is this. I'm going to make you jump to a brush, even though you might be terrified to try it, because I'm in awe of these young black t-shirt tattoo guys on YouTube that do endless black letter stuff. And there's one or two of them, especially the Italians, who do flawless brush Romans. I mean, flawlessly fine serifs with quite a large brush, which I'm not competent enough to do that. But if you can see this size brush, which is, I'm not quite sure what the measurement is, but it's pretty close to the widest blue nib parallel pen. And then this one is pretty close to the turquoise one, which is 4 millimeters or something. So I'll just show you that it's absolutely no different. This is just a little art graph, little bit of something just to get it on the brush. So if you're going to use a brush for calligraphy, especially a straight edge brush, really, really look after it. This is quite a good series, this one with the spade end. I really like these, and I don't know, I can't remember where I got them, but they're, I don't think they were...
The VIU bookstore. VIU bookstore, I think.
Yeah, but this was a set, but they're really nice. But John Stevens taught me to really look after this brush. When you've finished with it, rub it, imagine this was a bar of soap. Really wash it and really do, but when you're finished, really pinch it and even put a pinch of gum arabic on your fingers and close it off as you put it away with the gum arabic so that you've got a really nice sharp edge if you're going to do brush lettering. And all the graphic artists say that.
Do you trim it at all?
No, these are just straight edge brushes, but I really look for ones that have got, that haven't been trimmed, that are really nicely made. And this is a good old faithful set. I've had this brush for years. I have a better one, but I couldn't just access it this morning. Okay, so this is jumping in the deep end, but I dare you to do it. Now, just like I said about our pen, that we roll in our fingers like this, it's the same with the brush. So now I have to rotate it so that I'm getting the entry stroke. I turn it just the same. I turn it just the same at the bottom. And I can draw in the serif with a brush. You didn't think you could do it, but you can. Do you have a fine brush with you, everyone, to try? If you don't, come and borrow one. This one's got a bit of a wow in it, having said look after your brushes, so it might not be perfect, but it'll be something. So just rub it on a bit of watercolour. If you don't have any watercolour, come and borrow some. Or if you've got a watercolour pencil, just rub the tip of the...
You're probably better off with a short brush too, aren't you, than a longer one?
Oh yes, never use a long brush for lettering. Oh, wobbly, no good at all. I'm not good at this, but I just wanted you to have the courage to try it. And if Betty was teaching this, which she does very well, She hardly has anything on a brush. All she would do now is take the corner of the brush and just wet the corner of the brush, not the whole brush. She doesn't want it that wet. And no more paint on the brush. And just keep going, and it sort of gets fainter and fainter, but it makes a really nice page of doodles when you try it. But it's sure testing your, that's a terrible way. But if you've got those forms down from your Romans, you should do quite well with this. So what you could do with this is get a big roll of paper from IKEA and just do happy birthday all over it like this and make your own wrapping paper.
Do you have something shorter than that? If you don't, I'll persist on with this.
This is a really nice brush. This will do really nice lettering.
Okay,
You've just got to go a little bigger, that's all, but it'll do absolutely fine. You've just got to go a bit bigger.
Nice. Beautiful, thank you.
That's a nice brush.
I don't think it cost a lot.
Is it horrible or are you liking it? Complete silence. Concentration.
So when you're holding your brush, how far down to the brush?
So you don't want to be at the very end of the ferrule. You want to have your knuckle in the middle of there so that you've got control. You don't want to be on the crack between the ferrule and...
Can we see it on the screen?
You don't want to be on the crack there, but you don't want to be right down here. You want to be far enough back, and the reason is you want to be able to see where you're going. Remember that. If you don't remember anything else from the Romans classes, look where you're going, because that's how you get straight. And then this rolling is really important. So watch me. I mean, I'm doing really bad calligraphy because I'm talking, but when you get to here, I'm rolling on the spot, and I did a terrible one there, but I start and I'm not lifting off. I can go dead slow to get that nice. And the really good guy on TV, well, he gets hairlines. I'm not that good. But you can get there if you practice.
Okay, have you got a square brush I can borrow, please? I've got everything
This
except-
one's a little bit
That's
big.
okay.
No, that's fine.
Everything except my square brush today.
But mate, with that big of a brush, your letters are going to need to be very tall.
That's all right. I seem to be working big here.
So this is the fine tip. So first you wet it and let it sit for a second or two and let it get goopy, and then it's ready to go. And then what looks nice also is if you turn your book a half turn and go over the top with maybe another colour or a mixture and do them going in the opposite direction, and you get texture that way, especially if you're watering your brush down. Well, I have to tell you, for those of you at home, We have one homework star in our class, and she came with her work gilded this morning. So she's got more time than some of us. Very good, I'm so impressed. What letter am I going to do here? So this looks the same colour, but this is actually fine tech gold. So when this dries, it's going to glint, I hope. This really is diving in the deep end, so if you're not getting it, don't worry. I just wanted you to have a little try. Just give you a few more minutes doing this and then we'll go on to the next thing. Oh, there is another straight brush here. I forgot that one. Let's try that one. What size is that one? I don't like that brush. When you're doing this stuff, all you're really thinking about is keeping stuff upright and making sure that if it's round, the axis is straight in the middle, and if it's got a straight stroke. So I just want to point out here, I'm going to zoom out a bit. Not working.
You go all the way out, that is zoomed right out.
No, I'm trying to go out. Oh, I've got to go the other way. No.
That is all the way out.
Okay, all right. I just want to show you that, look how off straight I've become. So it would have helped me if I'd had that grid behind the paper, even though I'm not using it. It's just as a straightness reference. So enough of that. Tear that page off and let's start on something else. I just wanted to show you to have the courage to try it. My next thing is, now, I want to go to a dip pen now. Does everybody have a split pen to use, a scroll nib? Do you have one, Chris?
Yes, you do.
Okay. So I would like you to take a ruler. I've got extras here if you haven't forgot one. And I'm going to do the lines with a pen, but you do it with a pencil. I'm just doing it so the camera can see it.
Are we dipping in ink or color?
We're going to dip. So that is exactly 1/2 inch. So do a few of those because I want to do. Of course, I'm not measuring, but I'm sure other people would. And take out some black ink. And your scroll nib. Oh, that's gone all goopy. Well, I've never had that happen before. That's very odd. Wow. Okay, now. Oh, scroll nib first. Okay, just work your way through the alphabet with I really want you to hang on the line here. So really start on the line and turn your serif right on the line. And when you're doing the heavy strokes, don't be afraid to made a mess of that. To push to open up the tines on the way down. Have you got one, Cassie?
Yep, I'm just trying to get myself organised here.
So when you get to the line, rock onto the serif and just see how you do with this. I think you might do better than you think you are, because we've got no guide today. We're just free-forming it. We're just using our muscle memory that we've got just from what we've looked at for the last 4 weeks. I just love how this nib operates for Romans. It just looks so finished to me. So using that line to get absolutely perpendicular on your straight letters. Go at your own speed. Better to have 3 good letters than a whole bunch of hurried ones. How are you finding the pen? Why I like working with this tool is I feel like I've got more control over the serifs working at this size. Now, when you get to the end, I'm going to get you to switch pens to a very small nib like this, which is this is a very small browser. A very small C-nib would be fine. Or if you prefer, a pointed pen. This is my Veleda nib. We'll try both. Are you liking the results with this pen? Okay, so we're going to move on, even though you may not have finished your alphabet, but I just want to get through everything. So, so this is a very small browser. Writing, let's use seasonal words just for this next little thing, because writing words is a test that I haven't really spent enough time with you to get working on the spacing between the words in the letter. Chris, would you mind sharing your homework with me? I just want to show you a piece of work. Chris made a point of doing her homework with words, and what that does, here's her work.
They're a bit squishy because the words were long.
And I have no idea what this word means, but it sounds extremely rude. Bumbershoot.
I don't know, I looked at silly words on the internet.
It sounds like it might mean diarrhea.
No, it's an umbrella.
Huh?
Umbrella.
Oh. Obolus. But anyway, generally speaking, it looks nice. It reads okay. But then, it's here we needed a bit more space because that's a word space. But learning this stuff in between here is a challenge. And I think she's done really well with that one. If Betty was here, she would say, do that with it. But she was working and fitting it into a space, and didn't she do well with that? So, but down the bottom, and for you people at home, I'm going to do this so that you can see. She's actually gilded this stuff at the bottom, just to show us all up. Isn't it beautiful? But, she's, in 4 weeks, I think she's really nailed Romans. She's doing really nicely. Anybody else want to show me anything they've done at home? Or I don't want to put you on the spot because I know we're super busy, but it's your best tool for your calligraphy, whatever you're doing, is your own eye. And you can look up and look at something you've done in your first draft, and you know if it's crowded or not. So I told you when we first started that I couldn't find a teacher, and the one I chose at conference, I asked her about the spacing. I said, will you teach me about the spacing? How much should I put there? And her answer was, just enough. And I was mad, because it didn't help me at all. But actually, when I put the work in after I'd done hours and hours of practice and looking and turning it upside down and doing that straightness test and all of that, you get to a point where you know when it's right. And I think if Chris was looking at that, she would probably think that this smicker is probably pretty close. Maybe it could be a little wider. And so if you were doing your thumbnails when you're doing your practice for a layout, you would maybe, as Lorraine taught us with uncials, she showed us it crowded, she showed us it wider apart, and the white space around a piece of art is what makes it sing. So the more you can afford around, as long as it's even across the word, the more white space you can afford, the happier it's going to sit on its line or its curve or whatever you're going to do. So thank you for that nice work. It's really good. Okay, now we're switching pens then to, has anybody not got a small nib to play with? Any Christmas word you can think of. But we're doing the thick and thin now. And I quite like this nib for this. Now watch what I'm doing with the serif now. We're now getting into playful. These are curvy. And I'm doing my own spacing. I'm making it up as I go along. It totally changes the character of, I'm really actually using Roman forms, but I'm kind of making it a bit more playful. Now, what am I going to do here? This one. So just have a go with curvy. You're sort of making it informal. And playing with it. I'm still using the dot system to just tell myself to leave, because they're short words. And I might play with the letter forms and turn it into something a bit goofy. So this is your person now, personalising something. That was very bad spacing, by the way. Are you liking this nib to do this?
It's all right. It's finding a bit hard to get thick and thins nicely.
Yeah. Well, the thing with a browser nib or a seat, you can push. So when you want to get thick and thin, it doesn't show up as much.
Are you using a browser italic or a browser like pointed one? Is it an italic?
Oh, this is a straight edge. It's just a very small one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I got. I just
Whatever size you've got.
I'm just not familiar. I don't use it very often. I guess I'm not.
Come and show me your pen. I just want to just play with it a second.
3.5 on it.
Oh, this is a Mitchell.
Okay.
These are a bit tricky. Have you ever used it? Because it's not.
No.
You didn't lick this one, did you?
Yes, I put it in.
Let's just see. Okay, let's try.
I've got some pen cleaner here. But my browsers are all at home. I've got a C5 or something.
Oh, this is good.
It seems quite nice. I'll keep going with it because I don't use it very often.
I don't mind it.
Okay, I'll keep going with it then. I think it's just unfamiliar, that's all.
But don't be afraid to open the tines, you know, by pushing down.
Okay,
Oh, it's good.
great. Okay, I'll keep persevering with it. You know what, these chairs are, you're right, Barbara, they're not the right height, are they? Yeah, no.
I have to turn mine a quarter turn to get it. Pushes my back to a funny angle.
I feel like I'm not getting at the right angle for looking properly. My chair at home goes up and down.
Okay, just want you to look up for a second. This is where I'm modernising. My crossbar is going to go up here, and suddenly it becomes something quite modern and different. Just because I'm doing this goofy, curvy stuff on here, now suddenly it looks like something from a children's storybook. You still do the turn, keep the pen on the page to do the serif. Unless you're doing the big curvy ones like I am, which you may or may not like, but I just thought I'd show you what you could do. When Cassie and I are driving down here for these classes, we have these marvellous conversations. And today we were talking about all the things that we make for Christmas eating and getting ourselves in the mood for the season.
45 minutes of talking about roast turkeys and chickens.
But I find it's really interesting, the things I've always done when I'm now going to my kids' houses with their kids, and they do the same as we did. Like they've taken it with them, and they're doing exactly what we did in our house, which is interesting because you think they hate everything you do when they're teenagers, and then they go and do the same in their houses.
God forbid you should change something.
Huh?
God forbid you should change something.
Yes. It's tradition.
Do you make a trifle?
I do.
Oh, I love a trifle.
And people that have never had this still.
I want to show you that when the pen is this small, when the pen is this small, you can actually use it as a drawing tool. And that's what we're going to do next on our project. So we're going to have a little break now, and then we're going to do our project. I have 3 jars of Doc Martens white. If you don't have any, come and borrow a jar because you'll need it for the next project. If you get the chance to go online and look at the lovely email that Barbara sent you from Carol Dubosch's embossing workshop, this is the tool they're talking about, in case you've never seen one. They come in all kinds. You can buy them very cheaply on Amazon, a set of 4 with different sized balls on the end. This one, I think I paid $3 on Alibaba. And that's if you're making a Christmas card, that you can make a lovely frame around whatever it is you're doing as your feature. Okay, take a break. Stand up, walk around. I want to see if I can do that. She's done some doubling, which is really interesting.
I don't even know where this white gouache came from. I expect somebody gave it to me.
Yeah, like school.
And then if we needed to do something with purchases,
You know what, that's different, that's a totally different movement, completely. Like I'm struggling with the brush because isn't it different? It's completely, look at how fun this is.
oh, we're still recording.
Did you know that we're still recording?
Well, Judy's still doing
It's just that I want them to see this at home, that's all.
That is so cool.
This is not my idea. I've just stolen Liz's homework and I brought it to the front, and I'm copying what she did.
Okay, it looks great.
Isn't it? It's kind of a little bit almost elfin or something. I can't quite.
Very whimsical.
It is very whimsical. She's a real artist, isn't she? What she's done with that last S. So she tried that, and then she progressed to that, and then she liked the double stroke, so then she took the pen and did the single stroke, and then she doubled it. And then she did these, look at this crossbar she's done. Isn't that yummy?
I didn't even remember to make mine fancy.
No, it's fine. But I like what she's done. So she was just, what Chris was just saying, how she gilded her letters is she watered down some glue and drew in the letters and then pressed down the foil over top. And then when it was dry, brushed it off. Very nice. I just, for those of you at home, this is Liz's invention here. And look at this gorgeous crossbar and these dots. It's very innovative, but isn't it lovely and whimsical? I love whimsy. I'll give this back to you. Hope you don't mind me stealing it. I wanted people at home to see it.
I have a Donna Leon mystery here if anybody's a fan of hers. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it in the lobby somewhere.
Okay, so I just want to show you this, just so that you know where, thank you. It's just so that you know where we're going. Earlier on we did a word tower, but this is with white on red. And one of the things I wanted to show you was the shades of grey pen. What I've done with that lettering there is I've gone in and done this. I'll just go in a bit. So just go down here. You decide which edge you're going to do, and it goes on looking very dark, and you think, oh, that's terrible. But it goes away and dries very subtle, but it pushes the lettering forward a bit. And so, again, you know, if I'd made that into a Christmas tree shape, because A is the point at the top, it would have lent itself to putting that star on the top. And then this is what we're going to do as a project. We're going to take the phrase, deck the halls, and we are, even though you might not be an artist, we're going to draw. I always think the graphic should take you where the words take you. So everybody knows that what comes after deck the halls is boughs of holly. So any kind of format that we could do. So I've brought you around red cardstock, and I want you to fold them in half. I've given you 2, I think. So I had a few tries at this. The first one I just did in white. So just drew 2 lines across here and made a small word in the middle, and then drew that with the pen and left it white. And then I thought, well, first of all, I had to play with the letters, and that was a mess. And then I tried it with different formats. I tried it with maybe, this is our project for the month, right? Doing a Christmas card design. So, and then I painted in the holly leaves with metallic, and I would rub out that, but I wasn't sure about that. I thought this layout was better, but that was a bit sloppy. So then I thought I could improve on that. But I did quite like just the white with anything. You could fill that in with silver maybe. But I did put that shadowing next to the letters, which you can see is quite nice. And I ended up with this. And so, can you see that I've done the goofy serifs on here? It doesn't look that goofy, but it is definitely not pure Romans. It's just kind of... So, fold your red card in half and decide the height of your letters, so don't go too big. So go to the center of the page and draw a couple of lines to hang your letters on. And I think there's no shame in drawing lines and using them for straightness. And if you are inclined, as I am, to go off vertical, then draw yourself a couple of chalk lines with the chalk pencil. If you haven't got one, come and borrow one. Just to keep yourself upright, to keep yourself on the straight and narrow. Is everybody comfortable with doing a little bit of art? Is that okay? So, fold the card in half. Decide on your height. I really honestly did not plan this. I just thought if I start here and I didn't think about it, I just jumped in the deep end. If I was you, I'd be measuring and making sure it was all okay, but that's why I do thumbnails ahead, because I sort of know. I quite like this, but I thought, graphically speaking, that was a bit crowded, and the message got lost, because the bough of holly was more important than the words. And this "the" down here was way too small. So I chucked that idea out and went to the next one. And so this one, I think I actually preferred the one with, but this works well with the green metallic paint. On camera, the white outline really shows up. But to my eye, it's almost like it's variegated holly. And, you know, it's just how it turned out. So if you want to, you can just do the words first. And then we should do the art second. Don't forget to give your K a nice kick tail, because you can. So this particular ink is not mixed properly, so I'm getting watery and not thick. I'm going to give it another stir. If it's not white enough, it's because it's not mixed properly. But I do think, I know it's expensive now, but I do think this is really nice to have in your kit, a pot of this stuff. If you're not happy with it, Chris, just have another piece of card and start over.
Send that card to somebody you don't like. That's what someone said to me the other day.
And the other thing that you can do with this,
Yeah.
so see, mine is totally off as well, Chris, because I started way too far from the left.
Yeah.
And so, because we're just hurrying and doing, but it actually won't matter at all. Once you put the holly in, nobody will even notice. But we're noticing.
Well, I'll do Caroline's suggestion and just chat with you about.
Put your holly in there. That's what I'm going to do.
Caroline does a very long-lived watercolour class in Nanaimo a couple of times a year, and she always has a card-making session. She's an absolute ace at making cards, and she's got every idea under the sun. So this stuff will be easy for her because she's got all the tools. But I noticed on Carol Dubosch's wonderful workshop on embossing that we got in the mail, if it's a difficult one, she has one of those Cricut machines that do beautiful cutouts. You know, I think it would be wonderful if our guild had one that we could share around. But I'm wondering if the Jananko workshop in Nanaimo it's a sort of a workshop where they buy every tool for the men and every piece of equipment for the women, like sewing machines and sergers and long arm quilters, and you can borrow anything that they have if you join. And so I thought, oh, I wonder if they've got a Cricut we could borrow and do a project.
That's nice.
Oh, I think I'll curve my H. So you see, you don't have to be rigid and formal with Romans. You can play and end up inventing something that's kind of funky. I was kind of hoping that Chris would be here because I think she would have had fun with this. So this time I went the other direction and I got too wide at one side. So I suppose I should have measured. If you're a non-artist, this is not really that hard. The theory is this: with drawing anything, in nature, there are no straight lines. Everything curves. So if you're drawing a tree, I'm just going to show you on paper. If you're drawing a branch, it's never this. It's always tapering. So it starts with this and it gets thinner, and then it branches, and it gets thinner, and then it branches, and it gets thinner, and so it goes down to a twig. So it's the same, it's very, very easy theory. And so that's all we're doing here. If you're going to do a branch on top, then do a little semicircle there. And then we're going to draw our holly like this, a curve stroke, and going. It's not hard. Don't think about it too much, just do this wiggly. Now we're going to add, we go back to the point and we add this thorn. It really makes a difference. But don't, whatever you do, curve the spine of the holly, something different each time. Don't worry about it too much, just kind of jump in the deep end. I mean, look at me, I'm just scribbling.
I switched to a pointed pen for mine, which is much easier.
But I'm now going to show you that, having done that, now I'm going to make my decision about where on here am I going to put it. So I did quite a few runs at this, so I decided to come across the, come across the work, like this. But I wanted some over here and some down here. How was I going to do it? So I just took the pen that I was writing with, which I've now lost, there it is, because I thought I was going to do the whole thing in white. It was only afterwards I decided to decorate it. So here comes my, just exactly what we just did. And don't, if you wiggle a bit, it kind of looks a bit more real. Now, maybe I'll go across here. Maybe I'll come down through here. And, if I wanted to be really basic, I could just leave it there. But I just, as all artists do, they don't know when to stop, and they just keep on ornamenting until it's over-decorated. So
Until Betty tells you off.
less is better with quite often.
I like the gold.
But I'm using the pen that I wrote with. So that's a minimal version. But, as I said before, I kept on going, so I thought, maybe it came down through here. Maybe I could get a bit more into it. And as long as you taper everything so it just gets less and less, it's going to look pretty good. So I could right then stop and just put berries on there. I could take some of this metallic and just draw some berries on. But here we go with the holly. So I've got a vein there that's a little thick, but I'm just going to do that thing, go back and add the thorns. And no two are going to be the same. And try to curve the end of the holly a bit. I mean the spine. And maybe half of that one is not even showing. It's not something clever. It's just daring to do it. But if you're doing it with the pen, you're actually using some pen skills here. Because if you press too hard, the stroke's going to be too heavy. But as we're going to fill this with paint, it then becomes something more interesting to look at. So you can vary the pressure. The stuff at the back you could do softer, and the stuff at the front you could press a little harder and get more to it. Don't be afraid to turn your work around to do the other branch. Now, do I have enough? Should I stop now? Yes, I think I probably should. But I want berries. There's nothing like berries. So with a single stroke on the stem, pull a stroke and then just draw a circle. And maybe do 2. And then maybe over here do 1. And maybe over here do 2, but smaller. And then at the end of the branch, just do a floating free one. It's artistic license. It doesn't have to be purist art. We're just pleasing ourselves and creating something. So if we wanted, we could just stop there. If if you're not comfortable with doing arty stuff. But
if you're going to put gold on top of it,
that's what I'm going to take you to now. Like if you've got this fine tech, which I've just glued into a little dish because I use it so much, I just have it all the time in a little tea strainer dish from the. But the gold wears out after a while, and but this is so small. I can just pop this in my little mobile kit and I've always got gold with me. My friends laugh at me because I put gold on everything.
Oh, looks so good.
But it just looks nice with calligraphy. So there's a particular colour in the Fine Tech range that I really like, and it's these greens here are nice for things like oak leaves or something like that, but this green that they call jungle dries so metallic that I really, really like it. So I'm going to just do a couple and I'll pass it around and you can have a go with it. What I like to use to fill in with is a dagger brush, which I now can't find. I had it here a minute ago. Here it is. A dagger brush looks like this. So you've got an extremely fine point, but if you fill it up with Fine Tech, which you have to wet and let it really soak and get pasty. And
Do you buy it like that, Judy, or did you make?
no, I buy these individually. We were talking about this earlier. They come now in these black square things because they click in. You can now click one out of your palette that you bought. So if you really like metallics, put it on your Christmas list. There's a row of 6 or 8. It's not cheap, but you're worth it. You tell them, I want that for Christmas. And iron oxide is now open. I tried this one first because I'm a green fan, especially if I'm doing period things or scripture or whatever it is. And I really like, but this jungle, when I got hold of that, and I was doing Celtic at the time, so I did a piece that was Irish, and then I filled every round letter with this, and it dried, and it looked like $1 million. I was so happy with it. So I thought, oh, well, let's try this with the holly, which is what I'm going to do now. Whoops.
Did you make your brush? Did you make the dagger brush, or do you buy?
No, you buy them like that.
Okay.
Yeah. You could try, but
Oh, I think I'd buy it if it's available.
I'm just looking here to see what it's called.
Yeah.
I've used it so much I've worn the letters off.
Yeah, iron oxide had some really nice ones for like $7. They weren't really expensive, and I love the one that I bought from there. It's called Kazan, I think, the brand. It starts with a K. I think it's Kazan.
So being sensible then, you'll start at the top of your work to fill in.
I didn't know this existed.
Oh, so if somebody wants to borrow my metallics in this one, you can. But it doesn't have such a good green. But so here I go filling in the. I'm not going over the white outline.
That's beautiful.
What's her name? Blair, who was the White House calligrapher. She does flowers with this.
Oh, I know who you mean. Yeah. I just took a course with her.
Yeah. So this one is what she uses for the flowers.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same, and this is just a bit longer and a bit bigger.
Yeah, so that one's readily available at John Neal.
Yeah.
$19.
Yeah, I'm sure I paid like $7.98. It's really beautiful. Let me just check and see if, I'm sure she said she got me today. Just checking.
So we'll push on with this because I've got one more project to do after this. So
Oh, those are beautiful. Look at them.
I'm pretty sure she's open because I read something on Instagram saying there was a soft opening.
halfway there right now, aren't I?
That's another hour's drive.
You know, is there a good lunch place I could stop at the, Bombay or something? I'm sure there's a good place to eat on the way back.
There's loads of other places.
Deck the hall with boughs of holiday.
Oh, you're kidding, so it's really grand there. The 27th?
So this is where it is. And it's right on the
So the thing about fine tech is it goes on so easily, but it doesn't really jump off the page until it dries.
Oh, it goes through town, yeah.
Yeah, and when you get to the end of town, there's the bridge and there's a big park. And you turn right, which is just behind the end of turn right and go around like an U.
Because before she was in that building, it was sort of at the junction of going into town, wasn't it?
Yeah, she had lots of floods there, so you can see, this is the, this is the main highway coming from here. And then it goes over this bridge here towards, that goes off to Sarah. And there's this big park, and that goes up the park and the bridge that goes across here. And just before you get to that, you turn right, and then you turn,
So I'm just taking a red metallic now and just dotting the berries.
brown building.
Not totally eliminating the white, but eliminating some of it.
So the first turn is the front, but the second turn is like Nova. And there's loads of
Oh,
awesome shops.
got a drop of water on there.
Yeah, I do. And she's been so successful.
And then I'm just taking some brown watercolour and just sliding some into the branch, leaving it between the letters so as not to obscure the writing, but it doesn't take much, just a little kiss of it. But what I want to show you is the shadowing with this. Look how pale grey this is. It's really not, it's sort of beige, it's sort of grey, it's very, very light. So here it is on white paper.
Is it waterproof,
Look how light that is. This is a dual tip marker. You can do it fine or you can do it, but when it's drying on white, it almost looks bluey green. But then I go over with a second coat and it gets quite a bit darker, and it doesn't look really like it would be any good around here. But look what it does when you stick it in next to something. You have to decide where the light's coming from. And you could do this with your letters, which is what I'm going to do now on the card. So being careful not to block what I just painted. Just decide that the light is coming from the left side and just do this. And boy, does it make your letters pop. Be careful when you do it. Don't press too hard. It goes on dark and dries soft. So you might have to go a second time. But it really pushes your letters forward. So it's not really a colour, it's just sort of, just a shadow. I mean, what colour is a shadow? It's really hard to paint a shadow. So now I can go on the right side of all my leaves. And do the same thing. And suddenly the whole thing starts to pop off the page. I'm not being careful, because I'm not that kind of person. And if you want it to pop more, you can do it more. It's knowing when to stop, really. Bit of fun?
I have a set of those at home, but can I just borrow your felt marker so that I can remind myself that you did that?
This?
Yep.
Absolutely. So, what you can do now, either with one of those tools that I showed you, which is this embossing tool, this is a really handy thing to give the leaves some veins. So all I'm doing is going over the center of it and pushing a little bit, just to give that leaf a bit of oomph.
Especially with the metallic on it. It'll show.
Pardon?
Especially with the metallic on it, it's going to show.
Especially with the metallic on it. It just gives a dimension to the leaves that look like you've really bothered, and we all know now how easy it is. So there you go. And you could come down the one side of the branch as well with the embossing tool. But really, you know, that's a pretty quick project, isn't it? And then when that's totally thoroughly dry, you can take the eraser and take off the chalk lines. Okay, we have half an hour left. I want to do another little project with you. I know you want to finish it, but I want to just do something else. Take your second piece of red card and fold it in half. But this time we're going to the portrait view. We're going to take our pencil, or our chalk pencil in my case, find the middle. So this is 5 inches wide, so I need to be 2.5. So I draw a line down the middle. Very softly. And I'm going to do a line in the middle.
Can you put that on the screen? I'm just not seeing what oh, okay, you're finding the center point?
Pardon?
Are you finding the center point?
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to keep myself on the straight and narrow, that's all. And I didn't do it very straight, so I'm going to do it again.
Are we folding this?
We're folding the card in half, and we're turning it to portrait view.
Oh, okay.
So fold it in half like this, and then turn it to portrait view. I hope you people at home will try this. And a little packet of red cardstock from Michael's will not cost you a lot. And you can make up quick Christmas cards in this fashion. You could trail anything through there, but you could do this 3 or 4 word card front with any theme all year long and put a spray of something through it, you know, apple blossom, happy Easter, sunflowers, you know, in the summer, whatever. But whatever card. I just did navy for your signs. Black is amazing. And if you put 1 dot of red on your white work, it looks amazing too. Okay. Which pen shall we use? I think as we're just learning the informal Romans, we'll stick with the pen we were using. So a small flat edge pen. And here's something else we need to do. Sorry, I missed a step here. So I found my center line, which I drew down here. And so I'm going to leave a little white space here. And I've got a little stopping space here. And I'm going to draw, I'm just freebeing it, but with the ruler, I'm just going to make a triangle.
Can you see the whole card? Thanks. So where's it finishing?
I'm just making a very rough triangle just to sort of guide me a little bit. It's going to be freehand. I should have maybe started a little lower. I think probably there. So I'm going to change it up and do it lower. So about a good inch down. I'll start. So I'm going to redraw that and make it a little wider.
So you're going to cut the triangle out of the corner, or?
So you see, I'm a very non-math person. So you can see where we're going with this. We're now going to make our very last Romans together a word tree, just like we did earlier in the day when we were practicing. But we're going to do it with our zany Romans with the curvy cross strokes and the curvy serifs. And just dive in the deep end and just give it a try. You can do it with your split pen if you prefer, or you can do it with this pen. I'm going to try it with this pen. But the only thing you've got to keep in mind is roughly keep them the same height, even though you're doing this freehand, which I realize is a big ask. But don't worry if they're not quite the same, because nobody else will notice. But the weight, try to keep the weight and give each one a bit of space, but you are aiming for that Christmas tree shape.
So how many of these triangles are there then?
Just one.
Oh, just
It's
one?
just one. I just messed up the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. Can
I always think it's good to mess things up in front of people, because it means that everybody has got the chance to mess things
push
up.
it up a little bit so we can see more? Okay. Okay, just to see more where it goes. Thanks.
So I may end up going beyond this down here. Just depends how big I start my first letter. So, but the point of the tree has got to be the letter A, right? And it's got to have a really nice point. So I'm jumping in the deep end, and anything can happen, and I'm not going to get upset if it's not perfect.
You're just doing the alphabet, right?
Yeah. And if you want to, you can muck around with tumbling letters if you want to turn it sideways. But I don't think I'm going to, but I might. But I am going to leave good enough gaps so that the letters can be read. Judi's concentrating. Stressed out? Concentrating. Oh, I'm going to use Miss Liz's invention that she made with the 3 dots for the trunk. That was clever of her.
Shift it up so we can see.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
She had
Put more
she ha-
letters in to fill
she
the
had
space.
dots.
Oh, cool.
So I had to add a few letters to get the whole shape in, and I didn't give this very much thought, but I'm going to take could I have that pen back, please, Chris?
It's on your desk.
The shading one?
It's on your desk.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it's here. Thank you.
What are those pens called?
They're called, the ones that are readily available everywhere are called, just let me look at it. A dual tip marker. There's a famous brand that's everywhere, and I've collected every colour because I really like them. What they're really good for is ribbon lettering. I can't hardly show you on here because it's so pale, but this is ribbon. And so you can go over it, and then you can go over it with the same colour and do a sort of a light highlight behind it. But it doesn't show up with this. But it's called something Tombow dual tip marker. But I happened to see this set because they were all greys. I thought, because Carolyn always comes out with the perfect depth of grey for what she's doing, because she's very good at teaching shadow. And so she showed me, and I saw this set, I think at, where do we go for art supplies that's cheap? Home Sense. They have a little art department in Home Sense, and there was a pack of these, every colour of grey, from practically white to pretty dark. And so you can find one that will work, and I thought this one worked on here. So I'm going to go ahead in here and just add the highlight. Might use the thin end because these are quite small letters. So then I can get a bit more precise with going in. And it's hardly anything, but it just makes it look a bit more professional. And if when it dries, it's not enough. You could go and do a second go, but it's pretty resilient. You don't have to be. Obviously, I'm not perfect at it, but you can see what I'm doing, and I'm rushing just to show you. Yeah, so Tombow dual tip markers, it's a useful thing to have. And when you're finished, we'll have a little gallery up here of what you've done, and we'll have a look. Because we're coming to the end. So then, of course, you can open up your card and do your greeting in the same white ink inside. That's it.
Well, I've got to do one more word.
Well, you don't have to rush it. I'm kind of pushing you because I wanted to get through everything, but
I've got to do the last word on my tree. I forget what I was going to do by the time I get home.
if you run out of letters, you just start the alphabet again at the bottom. That's what I had to do. Oh, somebody's got, I know why I can't find my lid. Somebody's borrowed it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I had space, so I put 25 days until Christmas.
But this one here, all I've got is just red metallic dots in between the white. And that's quite pretty. But equally, it could have been white dots as well. But that shading behind that letter really makes it pop out. I just want to finish up with one last, we just briefly touched on it, and I just want to go over one last thing about nibs, and that's sharpening. I know I did it before, but I want to do it again just so that you know this is an Arkansas piece of stone. Looks like this. Mine's all covered in ink because I sharpen pens all the time. This one here that I was using today is getting a bit dull. It's all covered in white ink right now.
How do you know when it needs it? Like, do you mean it gives you
Maybe it's just my personal taste, but I find that I'm getting rather dull lines and I'm not getting crisp ends of serifs. I think it's time so I'd like you to feel this. In fact, I'll give you a piece each. I'm not going to give you a lot because you don't need a lot, but I've got scissors here. So this is called Crocus Fine. And this is, I think this is called Diamond Fine. But I'd like you to touch it. It feels like velvet. And I'll find my scissors and I'll cut you a piece. Just to remind you, even your parallel pen, if you're not getting, let's just look on the camera here so that other people can see. If you're not getting a nice sharp turn, that maybe this would do it. But if you want to come over here while I just do this sharpening, just to finish up.
If you can put it on the camera, then the people at home can see.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah. Is this my bit?
Yeah, that's for yours to keep.
So she's bringing you a sample around, but
okay.
I want you to come here and just watch while we sharpen. The one I felt needed sharpening was the one I'd just been using, which I've laid down and now I can't see where I put it. But let's say it was this one. And so it doesn't take much. It's 1, 2, 3, 1 on the corners, and then stand the pen upright and drag it 1, 2, 3. And then you try it, and then if you think it's, just feel that. It's lovely to feel. And this is a little rougher, so I would probably start here, corners, and then polish.
So the crocus cloth polishes it.
It just takes any burrs off.
Great.
And then when I go back to some ink, to write on. What am I going to write on? Back of here. I I can immediately feel the difference. And so you will get, I mean, you don't need to have a stone. I just happened to see it online and it wasn't expensive, Lee Valley Tools.
Yeah.
But it just makes a difference to those hairlines when I'm doing, you know, this fine silly serifs or whatever.
Might go over the paper better too.
Yeah, and so it even these. I mean, I use my parallel pens so much, they get kind of dull feeling. So just the same thing, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then that one is be careful with it, and then just take the corners off. It's enough. But just keeping their nose clean and keeping it sharp, I think, is. But what did I pay for that? I can't remember. But it comes in its little leather pouch, so it's a nice little thing to keep in my kit.
That's Lee Valley.
So as Timothy Bott says, go home and keep your pen wet. Work.
Your husband might even have one.
He does have one. I've got a big collection of kitchen knives, and he does my kitchen knives. I like sharp knives, but
They're essential or you're going to kill yourself.
he won't let me near that.
Oh, you're lucky.
But do keep your bleed-proof white very runny,
Yes, I noticed how runny you did it, and what a difference
Yeah.
that makes.
and it'll set you up for success.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I hope you enjoy it.
It's been great for a week. I can't believe 4 weeks have gone by.
And I'm extremely grateful to Caroline for making it happen for people at home. She's done a lot of work and she does editing and everything for me. It's just,
I like being able to go over the class because I miss so much. I'm
yes.
off doing something.
But, you know, I forced a lot of stuff into you fast, right? So to have that resource to keep, you've paid for the class, so therefore you've paid for the videos, and they're sitting there for you to use. To everybody at home, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you work hard with your Romans and you maybe make some funky ones on your Christmas card. Bye for now.